Welcome to the Book Faire Podcast. My name is Anthony, and after last week's bombshell news coverage, we don't have much news to discuss. There is, however, a ton of new releases for young readers. Coming this Friday, we will have an interview with Maria Dolores Aguila, and next week, as always, we'll have more new releases, so make sure you follow wherever you are currently listening to stay up to date with the latest in children's literature. We have more books to look at than normal, so let's begin by looking at some new releases. Starting with Baba Palooza by A.D. Ghani and illustrated by Nadia Alam. In a touching picture book, Ghani and Alam craft an exuberant ode to a working father's love. Young Aziza loves riding in Baba's zingy yellow cab, which makes the child feel like a movie star. Baba in the driver's seat, me in the back. But the job's long hours mean that Aza's father, who wears hearing aids and communicates via Pakistan Sign Language, often misses family dinner and school plays. And the protagonist notices that sometimes Baba's taxi makes him feel sticky with shame. When Aza realizes that Baba will have to work through a school daddy-daughter dance, the youth plans a spectacular Baba Palooza celebration, including a special performance and an appreciative display of all things we've gotten to do because of his hard work. Bright, thin-lined illustrations incorporate the taxi's signature hue and images of the car on a proscenium stage in this powerfully affectionate portrait of care that goes two ways. An author's note concludes, and this book is recommended for ages 4 to 8. Next is Unbreakable, a Japanese-American family in an American incarceration camp by Minoru Tonai and Jolene Gutierrez, and illustrated by Chris Sasaki. A stone serves as a metaphor and motif in this piercing story based around a child's experience at a World War II-era incarceration camp. In 1941 San Pedro, California, Minoru and his father, a produce purveyor, share a love of collecting rocks. But when FBI agents accuse Min's father of being a spy just before the bombing of Pearl Harbor, Papa is taken away, handing the boy a smooth gray stone for strength. Soon all persons of Japanese ancestry are forced out of their homes, and unsparring narration traces Min's family's internment from a horse stall at a racetrack turned detention center to wooden barracks behind barbed wire in Colorado. In desert tones, Sasaki's boldly graphic, shape-based illustration emphasize light and shadow across each step of the family's journey. Based on Tonai's years at Amachi Incarceration Center and written in collaboration with Gutierrez, this resonant account underscores young Min's plaintive words, "We've done nothing wrong, and we're losing everything." Creator notes, discussion questions, and more conclude, and this book is recommended for ages 4 to 8. Next is Feo the Chupacabra by Sequoia Blankenship and illustrated by Rob Thompson. When a movie studio threatens to oust the townspeople of Cabrito Viejo, Mexico, from their homes, an unlikely duo steps up to save the day in this heartfelt graphic novel, a dual debut set in 1950. Every year, Cabrito Viejo citizens celebrate Festival de Chupacabra in honor of the legendary goat-sucking monster. Unbeknownst to the revelers, Chupacabra Feo, a green-furred dog-like animal with huge fangs and even bigger eyes, lives amongst them, snatching their livestock and preening at their worship. But the purchase of Cabrito Viejo by a Hollywood creature feature producer spells disaster for the denizens, the festival, and Feo. To preserve the town, Feo, accompanied by teen mechanic and monster movie enthusiast Camila, embarks on a road trip to Hollywood. There, the pair will persuade the studio to make Feo the star of their next film, which will hopefully return Cabrito Viejo culturally significant protection status and nullify the sale. Rich purple hues blend into sunny golden yellows and glowing oranges, evoking the jovial warmth of Festival del Chupacabra and the cinematic magic of Camila's beloved films, while authentic cultural iconography and storytelling result in an underdog tale about friendship and the pitfalls of fame. This book is recommended for ages 8 to 12. Next is Just One Gift by Linda Sue Park and illustrated by Robert Zay Heng. This slim collection of poems, a companion to Park and Say Heng's previous collaboration, The One Thing You'd Save, both inspired by Korean Seijo verse, invites readers to reflect deeply about the needs and desires of people in their lives. After drawing from a hat the word family, friend, or a question mark that represents other, Miss Chang's students must choose someone they know who fits in that category. Told to consider if you could give that person just one gift, what would it be? The youth must then pick something that the person has never asked for. Following initial confusion, the children brainstorm. A yard for a plant-loving dad, a vacation for a couple who owns a 24-hour convenience store, plane tickets for a grandparent to visit their grandchild in Nepal, and, in a private journal entry, a promise to support an older sister who recently confided in the writer that she likes girls. While the racially diverse characters' individual voices aren't often distinct, the loose Seijo format makes each page approachable, creating an easy-to-digest, poignant presentation that effectively engages readers. This book is recommended for ages 8 to 12. Next is Mixed Feelings by Sarah Amini and illustrated by Shadia Amian. In her debut graphic novel memoir, A Series Launch, Iranian and Colombian actor Amini recalls her experience growing up as a mixed kid in 1999 Texas. As her family settles into a new home closer to her immigrant parents' electronics shop, 6th grader Amini prepares to enter middle school. Though the tween's internal monologue, playfully portrayed as that of a confident news reporter, suggests that Amini feels optimistic for the day ahead, reality quickly sets in as she navigates first day of school pitfalls. Amini doesn't share any classes with her BFF Monica. Worse, Monica seems to have replaced Amini with classmate Annalise, with whom Monica grew closer at summer dance camp. As tensions rise between Monica and Amini, the protagonist also struggles with not feeling like she belongs in local Latinx and Persian communities. Upon signing up for the school's drama club, though, Amini leans into her passion for performing, which helps the youth build self-confidence. Crisp, saturated cartooning by Amin centers character expressions and imparts a lighthearted tone across the slice of life offering. Abundant pop culture references pave an accessible path along which Amini tackles issues surrounding immigration, racism, xenophobia, and puberty, culminating in a nostalgic and heartwarming trip down memory lane. A Spanish and Farsi glossary concludes, and this book is recommended for ages 8 to 12. Next is Fruitcake by Rex Ogle and illustrated by Dave Veleza. As his friends start showing interest in romance, an 8th grader considers his own sexuality in this candid graphic novel memoir from previous collaborators Ogle and Veleza. Struggling to understand his peers' perspectives on love and feeling left out, Ogle confides in his divorced mother, who cautions, "Don't be in a rush to fall in love, Rex. It'll just bring you heartache." Despite her advice, Ogle, impressed by bold new girl Charlotte's defending a classmate from homophobic bullies, asks Charlotte to be his date for homecoming. And though Ogle enjoys spending time with her, he finds himself drawn to his athletic friend Drew. The protagonist's confusion surrounding his differing feelings for Charlotte and Drew is compounded by Ogle's encounters with an anti-gay preacher at Abuelita's church and the realization that Drew wants to kiss Ogle, but only in secret. Figure-focused illustrations rendered in saturated earth tones dial in on 1990s nostalgia and small-town Texas vibes. Humor-laced dialogue adds levity to nuanced portrayals of one middle schooler's grappling with his sexuality alongside other sensitively considered interpretations of tweens exploring self-image, and families contending with financial insecurity. Characters are depicted with various body types and skin tones, and this book is recommended for ages 10 to 12. I warned you there were a lot of books to cover. Next is When You're Brave Enough by Rebecca Bendheim. A Jewish 8th grader adjusts to a new environment while navigating societal pressure to uphold the status quo in Bendheim's radiant debut. Though 13-year-old Lacey is devastated to leave her best friend Grace behind in Texas to move to Rhode Island, she's excited to join her new school's vibrant theater program. Despite her worries about not fitting in, Lacey quickly befriends fellow classmates and surprises everyone, including herself, by landing the lead role in the musical. Her excitement sours upon learning about the more than 50 years long tradition of the male and female leads sharing a kiss on stage during the final performance. The only co-star she's interested in is fellow new girl Violet. As opening night approaches, Lacey mourns the widening emotional rift between her and Grace, grapples with strained family dynamics, particularly between herself and her older sister, and decides to pursue becoming a bat mitzvah, along the way reflecting on her relationship with Judaism and tradition. Careful, attentive plotting centers one teen's reckoning with intense emotions surrounding first love, self-reinvention, and maintaining genuine connections across long distances and during times of transition. Assured Prose relays Lacey's aching and emphatic first-person narration across this relatable story of belonging and becoming. Main characters read as white, and this book is recommended for ages 10 to 14. Next is How to Be Normal by Ange Crawford. An undercurrent of hope powers a fraught plot that probes subjects surrounding domestic coercive control in Crawford's gritty debut. Having been homeschooled by her mother for the majority of her life, Australian 17-year-old Astrid experiences her first day of public school 6 months before graduation, after her controlling father loses his job, forcing her mother to return to work. Though Astrid is excited, she's also embarrassed by her lack of experience socializing with people her age. While adjusting to high school life, she soon befriends a classmate who shares her passion for music and develops a crush on a free-spirited peer. But Astrid's instinct to lie about her excessively strict home life keeps them at a distance. Her idle musings about living a normal, boring life seem poised to become reality when she discovers her mother's covert plot to free them both from Astrid's father's acerbic personality and unchecked anger. Immediate feeling first-person narration from Astrid perceptively details her profound feelings of alienation from her peers and tightly wound wariness at home, especially as the climax ramps up with thriller-like intensity. Astrid is white, supporting characters are racially diverse, resources conclude, and this book is recommended for ages 13 and up. The final title to highlight this week is Girl Reflected in Knife by Annika Moroz Risi. A high school junior must reconcile past trauma to save herself from heartbreak in this propulsive novel by Risi. Young Destiny Black, with the pain of being repeatedly abandoned by her alcohol-dependent mother, April, and enduring physically abusive foster homes by mentally retreating into Arantha, an imagined fairy tale-inspired world. During a period spent in a psychiatric hospital, Destiny discovers that Arantha is a product of dissociative delusions and learns other means of coping with trauma from her childhood. Now 17, and once again reunited with her mother, the family moves to Dexler, where April embraces sobriety and Destiny falls in mutual love at first sight with local football star Ryan. For one perfect summer, Destiny feels as if she's finally living the fairy tale life she's always imagined, until Ryan dumps her and she believes herself pregnant. As the line between what feels real and what is real blurs, Destiny returns to the safety of Arantha, a decision that could drastically jeopardize her sense of self. Alternating clipped chapters and dreamy poetry culminate in a deceptively compact novel about learning to live, not just survive. While some readers may find the loosely drawn setting and abrupt shifts in verb tense distracting, these elements deftly emphasize the internal struggles of a fractured girl's efforts to be cognitively present in her everyday life as she puts her world and herself back together. Characters cue as racially diverse, and this book is recommended for ages 14 and up. That covers the new releases for the week. Next, we'll be taking a look at some news, but first, if you appreciate the work being done on the Book Faire podcast, there are a number of ways to show your support. First, you can like, comment, favorite, or follow wherever you are currently listening to help push the show out to new listeners. Second, you can follow the podcast on Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok at Book Faire Pod. You can also go to patreon.com/thebookfair to find episodes posted early, as well as links to news sources used throughout the show. Following on Patreon is free, and there are no posts hidden behind a paywall. Of course, the best way to help the Book Faire podcast grow is simply to share it with a friend, an educator, or a young reader in your life. Now, on with the show. There were a lot of interesting titles to share for this week, so we'll keep the news brief, looking at 2 educational vendors expanding their programming. Teacher-Created Materials has been around since 1977 as an educator-led publishing company focusing on pre-K to 12th grade educational resources, children's books, and professional development services, all by teachers and for teachers and parents. Their digital and print products support core academic subjects, English language development, and social-emotional learning. TCM is now starting a new imprint titled Curiosity Unlocked Books, which will publish fiction and nonfiction for readers up to age 12 and seeks to release 30 books annually. Submissions are currently open for fiction that focuses on subjects relating to social studies and math. TCM President Corinne Burton said in a statement, quote, "Since 1977, TCM has endeavored to create a world in which children love to learn. Curiosity Unlocked Books expands the topics and genres we can publish. I'm thrilled to launch this new imprint that helps kids explore, connect ideas, and create with confidence at home, at school, and in all the spaces in between." End quote. The new imprint is headed by Kira Ostendorf, publisher of Teacher-Created Materials Trade Division and Free Spirit Publishing. Ostendorf also gave a statement expressing excitement for the new publishing imprint. Quote, "Under Curiosity Unlocked Books, I'm excited to publish books that tap into kids' natural curiosity about people and communities, how the world works, how it worked, and how it's changing." End quote. Curiosity Unlocked Books launches this fall with That Stinks, a book about odorous things, Be My Howlentine, a Halloween title with werewolves and witches, and a biography series called One of a Kind, among other titles. The second publishing group growing this year is Literary Safari, an educational vendor founded in New York City in 2008. Founder and current president Sandhya Nankani previously worked at Scholastic Education. Nankani describes Literary Safari as, quote, a boutique full-service children's media agency, creative studio, and independent publisher committed to making inclusive media for children and families, end quote. In 2021, Literary Safari began publishing original books with the debut of Literary Safari Publishing. Their debut title, Lab, Experiments in Creativity, is an activity book companion to the studio's own Story Seeds podcast. Looking at the current growth of Literary Safari, Nankani said, quote, in the past year we developed books in conjunction with institutional and mission-driven partners and supported first-time authors and oversaw the publishing process. The distribution of books is also something we are involved in. We do a hybrid of traditional printing in limited numbers and also leverage the power of print on demand to expand distribution domestically and internationally, using platforms such as KDP, Lulu, and Ingram. Looking forward, Nankani also said, quote, because we have worked with trade authors to develop high-quality stories as well as school and educational publishers to think about what makes a book engaging and educational, we feel we bring a unique perspective to the process of bookmaking. Our partnerships with authors and institutions have been a win-win. Together, we collaborate to put into the marketplace something that didn't exist. End quote. This will conclude another episode of the Book Faire Podcast. Coming this Friday, we will have an interview with Maria Dolores Aguila, author of A Sea of Lemon Trees, the corrido of Roberto Alvarez. If you'd like to stay up to date with the show, you can follow wherever you are currently listening or on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at Book Faire Pod. If you'd like to help the Book Faire Podcast grow, you can also go to patreon.com/thebookfair. Following on Patreon is free, and there are no posts hidden behind a paywall. You can find links to news sources as well as episodes posted early. Simply add the RSS feed to your preferred podcast platform. Of course, the best way to help the Book Faire Podcast grow is simply to share it with a friend, an educator, or a young reader in your life. Thank you so very much for listening, and as always, I'll talk at you next time.